We are live, J&L Marketing booth, NADA, booth 3266C. I'm here with the man himself, Stephen Mason.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. How are y'all?
So what I love, and I'm excited that Stephen's here for one main reason. This man is Mr. Positive. Anytime you're on LinkedIn, he's got always a very uplifting message. You go to his post, he's always talking very well about his people, the importance of teamwork.
Sure.
So let's talk culture. Let's talk, because you're a successful GM, and I have to believe with what your content is out there, it starts people first for you.
So it's always people first, and I think that dealerships as a whole, they get it wrong. So they're out there and they're trying to say, okay, how do we create a great customer experience?
Yeah.
Well, so I don't think that you create a great customer experience. You create a great dealership experience for your employees, and that should kind of carry over to how they treat customers. You treat your people right, they should treat their people right. I hope that makes sense.
No, I think it makes perfect sense.
And my message, and I'm passionate about my message. My message is always the same. So every day, today, and going forward, so you've got an opportunity when you wake up, no matter what's going on. You can make a really good day out of it, or you can make a really bad day out of it. But that's really, really up to you. And I'm not this guy that sits around and says, oh, well, there's people that have it so much worse. I leave all that out of my equation. I'm worried about what can I do today to be impactful and make sure that my employees know that they're appreciated and that we're going to just move in a positive direction all the time.
So you've got a good reputation for going into stores, I don't want to say they're broken, but improving results right away.
I do.
Quickly,
Yeah.
fast.
Sure.
What's the first thing you do?
The first thing I do, you're going to really appreciate this, is the very first thing I do in every store I go into is I have a meeting with the entire sales staff, service staff, the entire dealership, and give every single person my cell phone number.
So that is actually great.
That's the very first thing I do.
So you're living, when we're on this topic of culture, you're living that, because that clearly has to go a long way.
So if
And the reason you're doing it.
So when I'm done in the car business, I would like to think that I'm judged on the amount of people's lives I changed. That's really, the results are all great, Scott. It's the people I'm changing, whether it be, and I talk all the time about my very first dealership I ever ran, my very first employee that ever came to me. He was a porter, and I don't mind, I'll tell you his name, his name's Julio Martinez, and Julio came to me and said, and this was a long time ago, and said, hey, boss, I really need a 25-cent raise. My wife and I are having a baby. And you'll like this story, because I would like to think this is what ultimately defines me. And that I asked him, what do you think 25 cents is going to do for you? And he said, well, I just need something. Well, what he really needed was what most people need. They need hope and they need direction. You do an awful lot with hope and direction. So I talked Julio into going into sales. I said, I want you to go into sales. So it would be easy to be a guy in a dealership that says, okay, you know what, I want you to go into sales. Be here tomorrow, we're going to start. It didn't work that way, and it can't work that way if you really care about your people. So for the next 30 days after work, Julio came to my house every single night. And for 30, 45, an hour per night.
True story.
True story. I banged on this guy. About, okay, Julio, this is how you sell cars. This is what you do. I beat him up. And after that was done, you think at that point, okay, are you done? Well, you're not done, because that's where it starts. I'll never forget taking this young man out and buying him 5 outfits, because not only did I want him to be successful, I wanted him to look successful, and the two run hand in hand.
Yeah.
And it seems like a weird story 20 years later, except that Julio runs a Toyota store in Harlingen, Texas now.
That's awesome.
And so you can look him up on Facebook. The story's too good to be true. He'll call me once every other year and say, hey, there's no way I'm where I'm at in life without you. Really, there's no way he's where he's at in life without him. I put him in a position to win. Yeah. And he won. And those are the stories, hopefully, I'd like to be graded on. And those stories, they're all around you. The one thing we spoke about yesterday at the roundtable, Scott, was I love the lady Liza's testimonies about people who have moved up.
Yes.
Because those people are everywhere.
They are.
But you got to find them, and then you got to push them, and you got to let them know you care about them, but you got to make it uncomfortable.
Well, let me just say this. I'm going to put myself in Julio's shoes. All right?
Sure.
If I'm him at that stage, I've probably mentally settled a little bit in the sense that I'm thinking, this is what I'm going to be. I just need to find a way to make it a little bit better, which is why I came to you.
Sure.
But then you kind of open this door of, I'm going to give you this opportunity, this possibility. You probably did a little selling on him to convince him why he should.
100%. He's scared to death.
But then you go over the next 30 days. If you're doing that with me, I'm sitting there thinking, God, I owe this guy just because you're putting so much into me. I would feel such an obligation out of loyalty to you to want to do well.
Yeah, so without sounding morbid, because everybody talks about, gosh, when I leave this world, I don't need a bunch of people to sit around at a funeral of mine and say this is this is a celebration. I would love somebody to tell that story, because I would like to think that when I do leave, that it's that story. And I'll tell you something, and that's one story. I have a ton of those stories, and it's all people that I just refuse to let them settle. So when you ask me how I go into dealerships and I'm able to change things, I think I'm able to go into dealerships and make people refuse to settle.
Let's talk about this, because I love when I go into stores. I can tell a good store from a bad store,
sure,
just by walking in the
100%.
door. You feel it. What's that like for you? All right, when you see in 30, 60, 90 days the transformation start to happen, but not for what it's you. Let's take it away. What's the difference in attitude with the people in terms of just that energy level and the way they like it?
Sure. So what a great question. So it's kind of awesome to see, because you walk into a store, and just like you said, you walk into a store and you're walking around and it's a morgue.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. It's a morgue.
It just feels dead.
But energy is transferred between people, no matter what anybody says. And so when you're able to do it, and then you look at over a 30-day period, all of a sudden people are flying around and everybody's saying the place just feels different when I walk in.
Yeah.
That's just a great thing to happen to anything. And now I'll tell you something. There's a lot of people, it's a struggle to get them to buy in, because you're running around and you're flying around and they're like, when does this deal stop? But it just can't. You have to. I was talking to a nice young lady a few minutes ago. So my days, and this is going to be crazy to you, and this is just the way it is. So I'm going to go to sleep tonight, give or take, at about 11 o'clock.
You're in Las Vegas.
Yeah, well, no. I mean, back home.
Okay.
Yeah, I apologize. But even though in Las Vegas it's tough, because at 11 it's 1 my time. So I'm going to go to sleep in Birmingham, give or take, about 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
So by 3 o'clock, I'm going to be on my bicycle and do about 10 miles.
Do you really do this?
Every morning. And
I don't know how you people that tell me this. I can get up at 6, I can get up at 5:30, and I can ride by 3.
By 5 o'clock, I am in my store, give or take 5:30. And let me tell you, the scary thing is, and that's not because I'm some type of workaholic, I actually enjoy what I do an awful lot. I don't ever wake up and people are like, man, what's up with this guy? So I haven't woke up in years at 3 o'clock and been like, man, I'm dragging. I just wake up, man, and I'm good to go. Had a great boss.
The only time I'm up at 3 o'clock is when I have to use the restroom.
Yeah, well, I get it. I have those too. I had a great boss at Asbury, my market director. I won't say his name out of respect, but he was a fantastic boss. And this dude would send me messages at like 2:30 in the morning. Hey, if you look, your part supply is at 81 days. You really need to be at 75. And I'd reply back, you know what, I'll take a look at that. But I took some additional filters because we got a little extra factory money. And he would send me a message back and be like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm talking to you. It's 2:30 in the morning. What do you think I'm doing? And he's like, always makes me laugh when you answer me. But I just, listen, I mean, I slept for 4 hours last night. I don't know about, do I act tired right now?
No, you always bring full energy.
I'm going to be wide open, man. I'm going to be wide open. That's just the way it is.
So first off, here's what I want to do. I want to get you on a full episode.
I would
on
love
Move,
that.
Crush, Count. We
Yes.
need to do that. All
It'd
right.
be a blast.
So let's try and get that done in the next couple months.
I would love that.
All right. But more importantly, the first time I met you in person, after you were done talking, you rewarded everybody with the giant size.
Chocolate bar.
Did you bring any?
Man, you're only leaving me hanging, man. Live and in color, and leaving me hanging on the chocolate bar, most definitely.
All right, everybody, coming to you live, J&L Marketing booth, NADA, Stephen Mason, culture expert right there.
Thanks, everybody.